Okay, I'm gonna do a quick mic check. Check work. No. Minute. Everything else up. Minute. Now we'll have cameras up and everything. Hey everyone. How is everyone doing today? Everyone's having a great weekend. Said I'd start at 11:45 and started a couple minutes early. So I'm not really starting quite yet. Just finishing my setup. All right. Alrighty. Hello. All right. Oh, 1 second. I need to finish setting up my panel. So I'm do it freehand like this. Why not? Sure, that won't have any negative consequences. So I'm just doing my I call it my crosshairs, but it's just like the center lines. I don't what's it called? Actually, I didn't put it in the paint in the reference image, but it's neither here nor there. I don't use the grid method really anymore. I used to. And I'm not saying I'll never use it or that it's a bad method, but I still put a basic grid of like my center. Um, and you could say that's kind of a grid. I mean, it's a very basic large grid. But it's very useful. But it's large enough that I don't have the like negative issues that I sometimes have when using the grid method. So for anyone who's, I mean, I'm assuming everyone's familiar with the grid method, but if you haven't used the grid method, you might not know, like, what are the negatives about it? Um, and there are definitely some negatives to it. Okay, I can't do this part without support. 1 second. Put this down for a second. All right, there we are. All right, so the negatives of the grid method, um, it can feel um, kind of restrictive and robotic. Hey, DC Long, welcome. Great to see you again. Thanks, I appreciate that. Oh, that's very close. Sorry about that. Um, I have my because my camera's further away, I let it zoom in more, but now it's too zoomed in a little bit. Sorry about that. Why was I even coming over here? Just going over here for something, and I got sidetracked. Anyways, I don't know. Um, hey, yeah, I try and stream on Sunday and Thursday at the moment. That's my schedule. Um, so yeah, what was it? Yeah, the grid method. I was talking about that for a second. How are you doing, by the way, DC Long? Do you want me to call you something else, or is DC Long good? Just let me know if there's something else you prefer. But yeah, the grid method is a good method, but it does have some, I don't want to say limitations because that's not really the right word. It's just, it can feel um, robotic a little bit. And then it can also um, be a little overwhelming. Like I've gotten lost in the grid before because it's so many grids sometimes. And keeping track of it can be kind of a pain. And then the other thing is, um, once you fill it out, you you lose the grid once you paint over it, obviously, which might be sound obvious and be like, well, by then you already have the painting, so no problem, right? Well, not really, because if you want to have, you know, expressive painting, where you like go back and forth into it and build up, texture and so on, that will be a problem. And if you want to do expressive painting where you just use a lot of transparency and expressive brush marks, sometimes you can see the grid through that, and that's also a huge problem. So the grid method is really good, but it does have its issues depending on how you paint. If you were DC Long says, if I was any better, I couldn't stand it. Um, DC is fine, thank you. All right, no problem. DC sounds good. Fix the camera a little bit. Nope, nope. Stop doing that, camera. Um, because I switched lenses and forgot to take the autofocus off. There we are. All right, filter. Um, that's as close as I think I'm going to get it at the moment, unfortunately. All right. All right, get the palette out and everything. I tried to be prepared for today, but I had to basically do a photo shoot and get my photo reference ready, and I didn't do that today, but I had to edit my photo reference and everything as well, and combine a couple of photos and all of that. All that to say that, um, yeah, I wasn't quite as prepared as I wanted to be for today. Oh well. I also I also was trying to, and I'm still going to work on it. I'm trying to make a um what's it called? Trying to make plugin or a Python script or something that will let me zoom in and track my brushes as I'm painting or stream automatically. Um, and it's tough because um, I don't know how to do any of that, and I am using AI to try and do that, which I know is kind of weird because I don't have the most positive stances on AI to put it lightly. Um, yeah, but you know, um, oh well. Like there are issues with it, and I do have a ton of issues. Um, I hope this is more of a jumping off point and someone else can make it properly, but the reality of it is no one's made it yet because no one has this particular need except for very few like IRL streamers. So so yeah. But we'll see if I can pull that off. Then at least in the near future when I'm painting detailed work, the camera will, track that and zoom in on it a little. Right, I'm just getting my brushes out and the painting will commence. What have you been up to, DC? Anything you feel like sharing? All right. I haven't quite finished my last still life, but I'm going to finish it off stream because it's pretty much done. It just needs a few, final touches on it. But sometimes you just need to focus on a painting without worrying about filming or where your head is or anything like that. You know, sometimes you just need to kind of really get in the zone and finish it. So, and I'm excited to start the new painting. I was looking forward to this idea. I'm getting new gloves though. Try these new gloves. I got some new black gloves. Let's see how these work. Recently moved to Pensacola from NC. Not sure what NC is because I think of a few things that it stands for. After retiring from the army, life is going great. Oh, congratulations, man. That's fantastic. Good for you. Well, congratulations on the retirement and the move. Moving is tough, so I hope it wasn't too bad. And I hope you have a bunch of stuff planned for your retirement. Where is that marker? Is it? No, that's not. But yes, this is it. No, it's not. North Carolina. Ah, yes. Like I said, I could think of a few things that NC stand for. North Carolina is. I've only been to. I've only driven through North Carolina briefly, and been through the Outer Banks, and been to the Outer Banks. Lovely place though. Pensacola. Um, only only reason I think I even know that name is because there was a YouTube couple that used to do art. They still do art. They just they used to live in Pensacola. Uh, so yeah. Otherwise, I don't think I'd ever heard that name before. But you recently discovered the wonderful world of medical marijuana to help with PTSD. It's a game changer for me. That's fantastic. Congratulations. I'm really happy for you. I mean that in all honesty. Keep an eye out for there's studies for um, different psychedelics for treatment as well. But I think, if I remember correctly, it is. One second, my brain is out of it this morning. It's psychedelics for depression, and I think ecstasy. For there's studies about ecstasy for PTSD. So keep an eye out for both of those. They might be, an added boost if you know maybe. I did ketamine treatment a couple years ago, and that was helpful at the time. Not for PTSD, but yeah, they gave you ketamine once, and it was extremely effective. That's good. I did it more than once, but it was, whatever. It's different. Every treatment's going to be different. My issue with ketamine treatment, the way that they did it here, because you have to like go to a doctor's office and get treatment, which I get. It's like it's for safety and everything, but I'd be so out of it. I just wanted. I wish I could have done the treatment late at night and then just gone to bed. Instead of having to go to the doctor's office at like 10 a.m. and do it then, and then be out of it all day and so on. That was my main, honestly, like one of my main complaints about it. But yeah, but yeah, that's fantastic. I'm really happy for you. But yeah, trying to remember the name of the YouTuber who I used to watch. He's an art YouTuber. There were a couple. Rafi and Clee. That's it. Yeah. I don't remember the name of their channel though. Oh, well. I think it might have been Rafi and Klee, I don't remember now. Alright, I'm just gonna try and use what paint I have, like, on my palette right now, the mess of paint that I have on my palette just for laying in my painting. So what are your plans now that you're retired? You do you have, like, specific plans of, like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this or that," or, "I've always wanted to try, such and such," or, whatever it might be? I will say, like, in general, um, for and then I don't know that this applies to you because I don't know how old you are. Retiring can mean all kinds of ages, but, general, they've done studies and people who continue to, learn and try to learn new things and new skills and so on, uh, it really helps them in their older age. You have no clue, but you're still excited. That's good. Good that you're excited. And I mean, it has, you know, the world is your oyster, so to speak, although oysters seem gross, so I don't know why that's a saying, but whatever. That aside, I assume because like people find pearls in oysters. I don't know. You had such a full life already. The shift to neutral is satisfying. That's good. Um, yeah, you know, it's one of those things. It's like it's tough for me to say because I think I live kind of a different like lifestyle than a lot of people in some ways. Because if I were to retire right now, I would be painting, right? But if I wasn't painting, hey Des says unfortunately life never truly has a neutral setting. Oh, sometimes it's a relative thing, you know what I mean? And I understand that, like, if you have a lifestyle that's, like, so, revved up, yeah. But, yeah, if I were to, like, retire right now, obviously, the thing I'd be doing is painting. If I wasn't painting, or if I wanted to do something in addition to painting, I I think or if I let me say if something unrelated, right? Like, completely I think I'd probably wanna learn an instrument, honestly. I'd probably be, like, trying to learn the guitar or drums, although I don't think I can play drums. I don't think I have the ability for that kinda coordination or, like and the not just the coordination, but the what is it? The counting and all that, I don't know that I have the ability for that, especially if you're counting, like, 2 different beats at the same time. Yeah, I don't know that I have that in me. I would like to, but it doesn't that doesn't mean that I do. That says I'm musically challenged. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely musically challenged in some ways. Uh, I cannot sing at all. Although I wish I could. Maybe that'd be something I'd I'd learn because you can, that's a skill you can develop. I'm not saying I'll be the best ever, but like anything, it's a skill you can develop. Do think I have some slight, and I do mean slight because oh, that's off the wrong spot. Um, because I need to. There's a lot of things for me to get past to develop it, but I do have slight potential to do screaming music somewhat. Like I said, I still have a lot of issues that I can't that I would need to get past, but there's like the tiniest hint of potential there is how I put it. How are you doing, Des? I don't think I asked, but yeah, I'd love to learn the drums. I don't think I can do the drums, so guitar would be like a fallback. Although I'll be honest, I feel like my hands and wrists and fingers all need a break sometimes. So I don't know, man. You know, like painting and guitar, I feel like would be a lot. Uh, Measure. Yay. Yay for measuring. Not far off, a little off. Des says I've tried different instruments. I'm hopeless. You have poor dexterity, so there's that. Well, I don't, I'm not an expert. I do assume that dexterity is part of it. It seems to be at least, but you know, I'm not an expert. Hold on. I need to measure that again. Messed it up the first time. Maybe maybe you can learn that instrument where you just like wave your hands over it. Forget what it's called. Hey Michael, welcome. Michael says, hey Leon, hope you are well. What are you painting? Hey, I am painting another still life painting. This is a painting of a happy little toaster. See? He has a smiley face. What are you doing, Michael? I'm gonna finish the other still life painting on my own at some point, hopefully this week, because I just need to kind of focus on it without worrying about without streaming it, without recording it, just really focus on getting the final touches done. And so I'm happy I can move on to another painting in the meantime, and then um, hopefully I can do the gold leafing soon, and then there will be some more painting needed on the after doing the gold leaf. So maybe I can do that on stream, not the gold leaf, but the painting after the gold leaf. And then, like I said, I need to find a um, model or friend who will model for me for my next uh, painting. So yeah. All right, let's do this real quick. All right. So what I'm gonna do now, off camera real quick, is I'm just gonna compare my layout um, to my reference and just overlay them in Photoshop. There is actually a way of doing this um, without having to use like your cell phone or something, and I'll explain it in a second. Um, 1 second, my brain. Okay, so what you can do if anyone, um, for yourself wants to do this. So you see the setup I have here, like with the camera and stream. I can't do it on stream um, because I'm streaming. But if I wasn't streaming, I could set it up so that I have a. Actually, I could. I guess I could do it while streaming too, but it would be really weird. But I can set up the reference to overlay the actual footage, and so I can look at the. I can look at my at my camera on my screen and basically, trace, right? Like it's another way of projecting without actually projecting. Um, but I um, don't know. I mean, it's a useful technique um, for sure. I don't know that I want to do that. Definitely not on stream. I feel like it'd be kind of blah to look at. But and generally, I don't think it makes for the most expressive paintings. But if time and accuracy is an issue, and sometimes that really is an issue, for sure. It's a technique that can be used to go quickly. Um, my technique does something very similar. It's just a little more open. You know, puts a little more interpretation into it, which I guess I like. Just a minute, and I'll have it done. Um, I just want it. I mean, at this stage, I'm just going to go in with a bunch of paint and mess everything up anyways. But I want to have you know, I guess I want to be a little more accurate so I don't have to fix as many things. Big things mostly. I mean, That's pretty close, I'll be honest. I'm really happy with myself. That's the other thing. I think that practicing this way, where I lay it out and then immediately kind of overlay the two, has helped me over time get a bit more accurate when I'm going fast. So if I'm looking, I messed this is the handle, not the handle, this is the dial. I messed it up the first time, put it too low. Second time I put it too high. Kinda Actually, I kinda got it accurate the first time, I'll be honest. This is a this is a little off. It needs to move over just a teeny bit. Yeah, actually pretty close. Hey, that's nice. It's always nice when you get things, pretty close or accurate. Don't get me wrong, I can mess it all up now, but it's a good start? Let's see, I'm trying these new gloves and I like them because they're black. Camera, camera. I like them because 'cause they're black, but I don't know how good they are for reusability. First time I tried one on, I ripped right through it. So, we'll see. I'm gonna need some phthalo blue for this painting. Let's put a little bit out. Alright, now, see here, grab big brush, start. I just realized, a lot of times I don't even bother with this sketch stage anymore, but when I'm doing still life and I don't do as many still lifes, I default to this because it's, you know, comfortable to like, default to. That's so interesting because I wasn't really, like, thinking about it too much. I just kinda was like, "Oh, I'll just start." But yeah, when I've sometimes I skip this stage entirely and just go and block in big blocks of everything, which work, really well a lot of times, but that's so funny. I didn't even think about that. I'm just trying to get some of the lines in the right place before I go in with the big block, which I'm basically just about to do. All right. Michael, if I didn't ask, how are you doing? How are you doing? What have you been up to? Feel free to share if there's anything you feel like sharing. Um, DC, out of curiosity, do you have any plans of doing art related stuff? I have to ask. Okay, this is a part I did mess up on. Like I'm looking at it, and where I messed up on the most is the top part. That's interesting. When I do this, I can see, um, I can tell certain trends. Like if I notice that I always mess up. Oh, this is a still life, but if I when I paint people, I'm like, "Oh, I always mess up on the nose." So it's like, "Okay, now I gotta be extra careful when I do paint, noses or draw noses," like, stuff like that. It's really interesting. Sometimes you can learn a lot this way by doing these exercises, even without the whole painting, just like an exercise to to figure out to do the layout. I've done those before. They're really helpful. Maybe I need to do some more at some point or make a video about it. Yeah. Michael says, I'm good. I'm doing a portrait at the moment. Nice. All right. Uh, oh, thing here. This is in the wrong place. Cool. Anybody in particular that you're doing a painting of, or just a, you know, a practice or for fun, or is it, fan art or commission portrait? I don't know. Nothing wrong with any of those. Just curious. I did not clean up my palette, and I am slightly regretting it at the moment. Something I struggle with, I don't do enough. So there's two grips. You can hold the brush like this or like this. This is more like the pencil grip. This is, I don't know, sword grip, we'll call it, um, or wand, I guess. Um, I don't do the wand grip enough, and it's so good to do that. Definitely do not do it enough. I default to like the pencil grip, but the wand grip is very good, especially in the beginning, to keep you looser and not as stiff. It's something I don't do enough. Michael says just something of a Pinterest Korean woman. I just like the shadows on it. That's cool. I mean, to be fair, I don't know your ethnicity, Michael, but it is um, really good practice to paint people of like varying ethnicities because some people don't, and it really shows. I see this more, I think, in comic book artists or, young comic book artists who don't know how to like draw anyone of any different ethnicity than like, I'll be honest, usually white, but sometimes it's something else. It's whatever, uh, you know, it's either white or whatever they are, like wherever they're from. And it makes sense to some degree, right? Like when you're first getting into art, like you're your own best reference. You see yourself all the time. It's the, it's the easiest one. Like it makes totally makes sense. The same reason that like often uh, artists are better at drawing or painting their own gender because they're just used to it. Um, but it's definitely good to practice the opposite and different ones. People don't do that as much sometimes. I had an art teacher. This isn't my crazy Russian art teacher. This is a different art teacher. Um, he his whole philosophy was you learn to do portraits and people, but mostly portraits. But people in general, figurative work, right? Do figurative work because if you can do figurative work, you can do anything else because we are um it's so much harder to do portraits than like a landscape. This is his opinion. I'm not making an opinion right now. I'm just kind of just talking in general. But this was his opinion because, and there's some truth to it, right? Like people in general are so good, even if they're not artists, they're so good at like recognizing when a portrait, when something's off, when a, like, we're so built, faces, like looking at faces and recognizing faces is so strongly built into us that people just know when something's wrong, even if they don't know how to explain it. So it's like, yeah, if you get good at doing that, you know, uh, painting a tree is kind of easy. I don't 100% agree with that because I've tried to paint a tree and half the time it looks like broccoli. And I'm pretty sure trees aren't broccoli. Having said that, there's some truth to it. All of this is going to need to be lighter. Everything right now feels like it's going on super dark, but whatever. Hold on. I heard a dog bark and I'm not sure if it's my dog, which is unusual if it is. Hold on a second. I have my mic on. Let me, you all can still hear me, but let me check because he never barks. Wizard, was that you? You don't look like you were barking. Okay. I don't think it was him. That's good. All right. It's, time just flies. Time. like I said, I am regretting it now. Oh well. I don't always clean it when I start new painting, and you know, probably should, but I didn't think all my paint would be dry, honestly. Is everything on my palette dry? I really was not expecting that. Honestly, surprised. So, in case you're wondering, the colors on this are a bit on the extreme, this distorted, because I just wanted it to be more interesting than just a flat rate toaster. So I actually went and bought. I don't have a toaster. Um, our toaster died a while ago, and we never replaced it. Uh, so I actually went out and bought a toaster for this, just so I could have a something for the photo shoot. Probably should have bought just a toaster for myself, but I ended up buying like a toaster from Goodwill for very cheap, just because I wasn't sure if I was going to ruin the toaster or not while I did this. And I don't think I did ruin it, which now I'm kind of regretting not just buying a toaster from like, Target or something where I could either return it or use it. And I know I can use the one from Goodwill, but certain things, reusing certain things kind of, I don't know. Like, I will not buy like pots and pans from Goodwill because I don't know what they did with that. I want to take the chances. It might be silly and stupid of me, but yeah. Might have to put out some more paint for some of it because not that I have enough for everything. Do I always start a painting the same way every time, or do you mix it up a bit? Oh, well, that depends on. It kind of depends on where you count the painting starting. Not to be a pain, but generally speaking, I'll say I start a painting similar is what I would say. And what I mean by that is um, there are definitely similarities, but it's not always 100% the same. No. Sometimes I don't even bother sketching it out. I'll just start by blocking in, you know, big shapes and just start that way. Um, I the and rarely, but occasionally, if I have a particular reason for it, I'll actually draw in things with a like pencil of some kind. Not a regular pencil usually, because those don't survive the oil very well. They leach into the graphite leaches and into the paint, and it can like stain it. You have to cover it up, and it's a pain in the ass. But yeah, very similar, but like I said, not 100% the same. Sometimes I won't even like today I sketched it in. Um, a lot of times I'll just go in with like bigger brushes and just paint in big chunks. Um, I also I have, I also have these, rollers, the print brayers, and I used to use those a lot more than I currently do, but I still use them sometimes to, like, roll over the painting in its early stages, um, and mess everything up that way. Um, I think there's, like, a lot of really good reasons to do that, but I don't do it as much as I used to. Um, I think more for speed, I think is part of it. Um, but yeah, I still do that sometimes. And then, I'd say that's about it as far as, like, differences. It's kinda those 2 things, or those 3 things rather, that change. I mean, everything starts with the reference, and that's what I was saying in the beginning, like, if I always start at the same if you're counting the reference, that changes a lot depending on a lot of different factors. Like, sometimes I use reference, uh, that I find online, and by find, I mean I search a lot and spend hours and hours searching for it. Um, Other times like this, I actually do a photo shoot and take the photos myself, um, which, I mean, would be ideal to do all the time, but, can't always can't always do that. And, I mean, I do sometimes do, um, sketches beforehand, where it's like you know, when I am trying to come up with a concept, if I need to, like, work out exactly where everything's gonna be and so on, then I'll do, like, unrelated, I'll do sketches or, digital comps, kinda depends, sometimes um, I'll comp things together digitally, or I will, um, just do searches for similar images and try and find something that I can use as a reference for, like, the photo shoot that I need or whatever it is. But yeah, um, but yeah, I do stuff like that as well. But that's kind of the pre-planning, I would say. Like, I think most people would consider that kind of, like I said, pre-planning versus, like, the actual painting. I probably spend more time looking for something that I like to paint. So, I totally get that. I will say, the way I would phrase it for me personally is not it's not a matter of something I like or don't like to paint. It's something that I think will be a good painting. because I say this a lot, but like what makes for a good photo and what makes for a good reference aren't the same thing, you know, and that's, one of the things that like it's hard to find good photo reference that you don't make yourself because people want to share good photos, not good photo reference. And even the reference packs that are out there, they are good, but they're good for certain uses, not all uses. Des says entering nap mode in 1, 2, 3. Okay, Des, enjoy your nap. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be calling it a day pretty soon, honestly. Unfortunately, I have to keep today's stream short. Um, I have to leave at 1 and I have to put the dog away before I leave, so I probably gonna finish at like 12:50 or 12:55 because I have to, unfortunately. I am going to use a little magenta today, even though, like, I don't, yeah, I kind of need magenta today. I'm already out of white. Uh, Michael, do you always start the paintings the same way? Now I'm curious. Like, I will say this, it has evolved over time. I used to be way more, like, I used to do a grid every time I painted, and I don't do that anymore. I do the midsection grid, like the center lines, but other than that, I don't do grid. But I used to all the time. So it definitely has changed over the years. By the way, Des, I didn't take it this way, but it just dawned on me. Were you trying to say I'm being boring? Was that the idea? Um, I didn't initially take it that way, but then it just dawned on me. Fair. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just curious. Michael says, no, I try to mix it up a bit, but mainly just start painting it nowadays. Just depends how I feel. That's fair. Oh, I will say one thing I always do. I um One thing I do always do when I'm working from photo reference. When I'm working from life, obviously I can't do this, but when I'm working from photo reference, the one thing I always do, I always crop my photo image um, to the same proportions, to the same uh, aspect ratio of my painting. It doesn't have to be the same size, just the same ratio, but I always do that. Um, yeah, that's something that I think is very important, and I always do that now. Because oh my god, if I don't, yeah, that that will mess me up, honestly. Because the try I use the and you instinctively do this, but I purposefully do this, but everyone instinctively does this. You use the negative space and everything around your painting, around your image to um, measure. And if the proportions aren't the same, oh, it'll mess with your measurement unless you're really aware of what you're doing and very good at measurements. That is hands down one of those advice where I'm like, if there's any advice I could give someone other than don't eat your paint, that would probably be it. Like if you're drawing from reference, get the reference and your page the same proportions. Because that's the one thing that will mess me up. And it's a simple thing to do though. So it's like it's such a small, quick thing to do. Um, but yeah. Michael says, yes, mostly do that, but not always. I think I read that already, but yeah. Yeah. Now that's the one thing that like I don't know. I can't without that. Well, can't. I can. I've done it in the past, I've done the thing where it's like you're working from a magazine or something, you're just, out and about kind of thing. Yeah. So and I do draw or paint from life occasionally. Um, so yes, but ideally, I'm saying if you're really working on something, I would give that advice to people. Yeah, there. I'm gonna have to call it a day, but this is the beginning of the painting. It's a happy little toaster. Um, he has a little shower cap and some bubbles on him. You know. So yeah. Um, Michael says it does make it easier. Oh, it so does. I've seen so many people do a drawing and or painting, start it, and they don't understand why like some of the proportions are off, or they start it and it ends up in the corner, and or whatever, whichever corner it ends up in, and they're like, I don't understand. And it's like, well, what was the size of the frame, what was the proportions of the frame? And it's like in a much bigger you know picture kind of thing, and yeah, it messes people up all the time. All right, friends, I have to call it a day. My Sundays are short, I know. I wish this was a little longer. I tried to start earlier, but it is what it is. Have a good rest of your weekend, everybody, and I will be back on Thursday. Um, I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, that's it. Have a good one, everybody. Bye for now.